All right, so online students, today is a review, so all you're going to see is this shot today, and I'm going to be asking some questions, and I will repeat the answers so that you can hear what the students are saying in response. So let's have a word of prayer, and we'll start. Father, thank you for the challenge today. Thank you for the privilege of remembering daily what you have provided for us in Jesus Christ. We belong to you. We are adopted into your family. We are forgiven. We are free from the penalty of sin. And we have studied this semester a variety of religious systems that know nothing of the workless salvation that we read about in your word. Everything we've studied is all about man accomplishing what he's after and then ending up in a place where he would never have imagined. And this is extremely sad, but it's true, and we must face it. And I pray that you would help us, as a result of what we've studied this semester, to have an increasing sensitivity toward the lost and the deception that the God of this age has implanted in the world that he currently runs. But with the joy of knowing that ultimately the one who has been granted the throne of his father David will sit on that throne and reign over the earth. Thank you for that absolute assurance and for the joy we have in recalling that each day. We commit our class to you and pray for a good review time. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so let me just, we'll start with you girls over here. So we'll start with Demi. You didn't know when you sat down there that was going to be a strategic spot, did you? All right. This is a challenging question, okay? What do we mean when we say that we hold a non-reductionistic perspective on religion? That's a tough one, starting out with a tough one. Okay, that's, we want honest answers, okay? And if you're honest answers, this goes all the way back to the first week of class, all right? Non-reductionistic perspective on religion. So let's go over here to Will. No. It will be, the exam will be open notes, but let's do the review, open mind, closed notes. Non-reductionistic perspective on religion. Any idea? They're not all going to be this hard.
A non-reductionistic
perspective on religion. Okay, well, let's open up to anybody. Yeah, Cody.
Religion should be laid on its own terms, not as byproduct of.
Good. You basically memorized that. Yeah. In other words, now let's put that in other terms. What?
I had my notes open earlier. I knew that was going to be the first question.
All right, you're going to be my first reductionistic project then in the class. He's going down, man. Your grade just got reduced. All right. Non-reductionistic basically says we don't believe that religion is a product of something else, or byproduct of culture or of politics or something else. It stands on its own right. And of course, we believe that religion, or probably to use a better word, spirituality, the whole concept of what is spiritual, was embedded in the creation by God. It's not something that rises out of a political influence or cultural, circumstance or anything like that. Okay? So we're not reducing religion to a byproduct of something else. It stands on its own terms. Right. Okay. Now, let's see. I always, now, you didn't get it, and I passed it to you, but now it stays on your side, so we go to James. You guys help me. James, what do we mean? Here's another tough one, okay? What do we mean when we say we take a phenomenological approach to religion? Phenomenological approach to religion. No clue. That sounds familiar. All right, let's come back over here to Emma.
No.
Aren't you glad we're getting the hard ones out of the way first?
Phenomenal.
It's phenomenal. Okay, anybody except Cody. Yeah. Yeah, what do we mean when we say we take a phenomenological approach to religion? Anybody? This is really a sad commentary on the professor, isn't it? All right, go for it.
So phenomena consists of like actions, right? Like the word part is like studying the religion itself
Kind of. What we mean is when we observe religions, we have to evaluate them based on what we see. So the phenomenon or phenomena, plural, refers to those things that we can observe using the senses, especially sight and sound, right? And so we can't get into the heart of people. We can't, we have to evaluate religious systems based on what is observable. So what is observable refers to the phenomena out there. So that's the idea of phenomenological approach to religion. We can't really study it based on its presuppositions or a worldview. We can only study based on what we observe. We can try to draw conclusions about a worldview based on what we observe. Does that make sense? And everybody does that, okay? So, all right. Well, should I give you another? Well, just as a subset of that, remember hierophanies, what that means? Hierophanies refer to some sort of supernatural or spiritual phenomenon that takes place, like, a vision or something else like that that's not a natural, normal everyday occurrence. Okay, all right. Oh, we're having fun. All right, so now we're back to Cody, if I can trust you. You're not looking, okay. Cody, what's the difference between a cult and a non-Christian religion?
A cult is normally a subset of Christianity that holds to a general, specific. They start with a general worldview that's very Christian-based. Often, now this is not the distinction, but often non-Christian religions are significantly older and more unique.
Okay, good. Would you say that non-Christian religions have nothing to do with the Bible at all then?
No.
So what, okay, depending on the religion, they might what? In relation to the Bible, how might they view the Bible?
As an additional, but not as a main source, right?
Right, not as an authoritative source, right. Just like, remember Gandhi? He would always encourage his disciples to read the words of Jesus in the Gospels. That doesn't mean that he understood the Gospels as being authoritative, that the New Testament was inspired or anything like that. But he respected them and he felt that they would be helpful to his disciples, right? Whereas cults claim the authority of God's word, but then they add other authorities to it. And we offer cults class here next semester. This is, yeah. All right, good. Hey, it's getting a little easier now. You guys are rolling. All right. What do you call, well, I guess, okay. Wait a minute, where are we at here? Back over in okay, what do we call, there's several words we can use to refer to a combination of a major religious system with local systems that mix together with it. What's a word we can use to describe what that is? Well, okay, not so much. We're really talking more about indigenous religions here. If you take local indigenous religions and you tie them together with a major religious system like Catholicism or Buddhism, what do you call that combination? They can be the word cult does mean sect. It can be a splinter group off of that. But there are other terms that we use to describe that mixing. All right. Well, you want to give it a shot, Rachel? Anybody? Yeah. Yeah, syncretism is the broad word that describes the mixing of two, but and then we use words like traditional or folk religions, right? A folk religion is normally a major religious system that's mixed together with spiritism or something like that to form an unusual blend. Folk, or okay, good. All right, I'm going to skip let's see these. We have these 8 characteristics of religion that your book presents. I think I'm going to just go by that one. All right. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Can is it you guys? I think it's you guys now. Isaac, you remember way back when we talked about social domains? Do you remember what a social domain refers to?
That would be like
Right.
or there's broader social domains, like the United States or like anything.
Right.
It refers to the groups of people you're around.
Yep.
Sometimes those overlap or not.
Exactly. And remember, do you remember why that's important in the study of religions?
I know different social domains will often think differently about different things. Even a religion could be considered a social domain.
It can, yeah. And in some cultures, all the social domains within that culture actually are tied to a religious system, like in many of the Islamic countries in the world, or Hindu-based countries, right? Whereas in other places in the West, especially, those social domains remain more independent. So I can have my religion over here, and then my social life and other family, independent of those. Good, good. All right, that's good. Let's see, what else can I torture you with? Okay, so now are we back up here again now? All right, Demi, yeah, we are. You had a chance. All right, we'll get back to it. Demi, okay, when we talked about culture, we compared it to a cutout of a globe, okay? Do you remember what any one of those levels was, like maybe what the surface level would represent or what the core of the cutout globe represents? Do you remember any of that? Okay. All right. So, Will? Yeah, we used a cutout of a globe to describe the elements of culture.
The ethnic?
No, that's a good guess. And so there were different, starting with the crust, we identified certain elements of culture. We ended up in the core. Do you remember what any of those were? Okay, does anybody happen to remember one of those? Yeah, Ben? But I have called him Ben since he started coming here. Your name should have been Ben. Daniel? I have a son, Daniel, I should remember.
Isn't there like the top ones like action, and then like the core I think is like worldview?
Yeah, okay, gotcha. Yep, the core is the worldview, and the crust represents that which is observable, right? Actions of people, the way they dress, that sort of thing, the way they conduct themselves in public, right? Exactly. So you have behavior, what is done, you have the values, what's good or bad, okay? You have the beliefs that come from that, and then the core is the worldview. All right, good. Okay, skip around. Oh, now here's a tough one for you. Isaac, is it you? No. Who is it? James? Okay, James. James, I skipped you, didn't I? Okay, James, do you remember, we talk about two different perspectives when you're observing culture. Do you remember what those two perspectives are? What are the two angles from which culture can be observed? Exactly. Do you happen to remember the terms that are used? They both start with the letter E. And they're both four-letter words. You got it?
Yeah.
What?
Was it what I said before?
Not ethnic. That's more than four letters. Okay. Yeah. Edic and etic.
That's what I said.
Emic and etic.
That's what I meant.
Emic is from within. That's you observing your own culture. Etic is somebody from without observing your culture. And which one is more important in studying culture? It's a bit of a trick question. They're both essential. And why? Why is it you can't just trust somebody who lives in their culture? I mean, after all, that's their own culture. Exactly, yeah. Yeah. There are things that you don't even recognize that you're doing or saying, or why, because it comes to second nature. All right. Good. Now that's the end of that one. Now we can move into, that was the introductory part of our study. So now let's go back to animism. We're going to run out of time, but that's all right. Okay. Is it Emma? Are you next? Okay. Do you know what the word indigenous means, literally?
Not like literally. Like, it would just be like, we described it as like, maybe like, I want to say third world almost people, but it's like, it's not.
Okay.
We talk about like, in the culture
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
like,
And what is it that makes them indigenous? Why do we call them indigenous? That's what I'm getting at. Okay. Do you remember?
Does it have to do with like being from like native
Yeah.
to like
Yeah.
outside your culture?
Yeah. Of the ground. Right. The word indigenous literally means of the earth or of the ground. It has to do with those who are the original inhabitants of that area, which is not always possible to identify because in some cases we don't know who original inhabitants were, right? But that's the idea. All right. So related question now. Let's see. Now we're back to you. Huh? Is it Cody?
Sure.
I'm lost.
Doesn't make you count the jumping across. So yes, it would be.
All right, Cody, I'll let you in here. Okay. Do you remember what the word animism comes from? What's the main idea behind the word animism?
Like you talking for like a literal. Self-independent.
Animate object.
Never mind.
It's related to the word spirit or soul, the idea that there's a life, spiritual principle of some sort in everybody and everything. Okay? That's why we use the word animate to refer to, you take something like a cartoon that's not a real thing and you give it life. Animation is the idea of giving it life. There's a life or spirit principle in everything. I know you guys know this stuff. It's just, that's why I spend more time in these early classes because those are the things you. All right, okay. Now, where are we? Back to Isaac. Okay, Isaac. What is necromancy? Huh? Right, consulting the dead. Right. Very good. Very good. All right, we back up to the front here. Oh, Demi. All right. Well, I won't torture you with that. I was going to ask you about chloramancy, but that's using lots, casting of lots. I'll show off on that. All right. Let me move on and get you something else here. Okay. We talked a little bit about Japanese Shinto. That's their folk religion. Remember, the state religion is probably called Buddhism, but Shinto is really more of the local religion. Do you happen to know what the word Shinto means? I've given you some tough ones, but you'll remember these afterwards.
Which is the one that means the way?
Yeah, you're on the right. Well, there's another one. Tao is the way, but Shinto means the way of anybody, spirits. Remember, that's the purpose of the gates. You have the big gates like the Torii Gate in Hiroshima, okay, because that's the gate through which the spirit world enters. So Shinto is the way of the spirits. Okay, all right, good. Okay, so now we're on. Okay, we'll do James this time. James, why is it that some people prefer not to include animism as a legitimate non-Christian religion or world religion? That's partial. Okay, that's part of the answer. You're on the right track. Cody, add to that.
There's no sacred text.
Yeah, they don't have a collection that's recognized universally as a sacred animistic text. Every other religion does. Okay, there are things written about animism, but that's one of the main reasons why. And the fact there's so much variety. Animism to world religions is almost kind of like Pentecostalism is to Christianity. Pentecostalism is not really a denomination. It's more of a parasite that can attach itself to other denominations. That makes sense? And animism tends to do the same thing. Why do some people not include animism as a legitimate pursuit of world religious studies? It's not a world religion. All right. Okay, I'm going to move on here. Let's see, I'm going to go through that, get you out of that. Okay, I think we're ready to move on. Let me move on to the next one. Okay, so let's move on to Hinduism. Okay? Now this will be easy. All right. I do? All right, so where are we?
You keep skipping him. It's him.
Did I skip Ben?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll give you 2 then, Ben. All right? Okay. Do you happen to remember where the word Hindu comes from? Yeah, up in the northwest, the Sindhu River, right? Major, yeah, and I'll give you another one too. What is the ancient language that's so associated with the Vedas? Sans, yeah. All right. I'll come back to you. Just remind me when I come back to him again, we're going to give him a hard one, okay? All right. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Is Emma's now? Who's next? I'm totally lost. Where are we? Isaac. What? I don't know. I said, what do you call? Okay, remember there were inhabitants up in the northern part of India who served a variety of religions, but a particular group came along and somehow not totally understood by history resulted in their leaving. What was the name of that large group of lighter-skinned people that came? Yes, the Aryans, right. Remember? Whether it was military or some other, factor, they ended up, the darker-skinned people who had migrated largely from the Middle East actually ended up moving southward into India. Right. Okay, the Aryans. Good. Let's see, are we back to, Daniel. I'm sorry. Daniel, I could torture you with this one. Do you remember the name of most of the groups that were darker skinned that ended up moving out of northern India when the Aryans came? Were the Dravidians. I'm not going to ask you. That's a tougher one. And there are 22 official just Dravidian languages in India. It's a huge group. And most of them are in the central to southern part of India now. All right. What do you call, Daniel, what do you call the collection of books that are the foundation of Hinduism?
Are those the Rig Vedas, or is that something?
That's one of them. What's the second word? The main word? Vedas, right, Vedas. Do you happen to remember what Veda means?
Not really.
That's okay, we'll pass it over here. Knowledge. That's okay, I'll give you another one. Yeah, knowledge. And so, the Rig Veda is definitely the most popular one. Rig Veda, right. Now, what do you call the other collection of Hindu writings that came along later and are actually more popular among most Hindus today than even the Vedas? It's a long word. Yes. Did somebody tell you? Good job, man. The Upanishads, right. And they are, now, okay, I'm just going to go in order. I'm getting tired of skipping people. James, do you happen to remember what the main distinction is in emphasis between the Vedas and the Upanishads?
So Upanishads are kind of like trying to understand the Vedas.
They do expand on the Vedas, but there's an emphasis in the Upanishads that's different from the main emphasis. The Vedas were trying to teach people primarily how to what? Anybody can answer this. Yeah, it was more ritual-based, how to perform rituals correctly in the Hindu religion. Whereas the Upanishads emphasize more what? Yeah, more the inner person, and that's where meditation became very dominant, right? So one emphasizes more the outward actions, Vedas. The other, Upanishads, emphasizes more meditation. Not exclusively, but it is a question of emphasis. All right. Good. Okay, classes or castes. So Emma? Oh, wait a minute, I guess we're going this way now. So Cody? Can you name the 4 main, there are like 20,000 different identifiable castes in India. But what are at least a couple of them, can you think of, what's the highest caste?
They're one of the priests they call themselves
Yep, the Brahmin caste. Right. Emma, can you help? Can you think of another one? Yeah. The Dalits are the untouchables. What was the other one you said? Well, there's the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Shudras. I'm not going to ask. The only ones I really want you to remember, if you can remember names, the Brahmin is the top class, and then the untouchables, or we don't really use that term anymore. We use the word Dalit, D-A-L-I-T. It's a little bit more PC word than the untouchables. Now, are they part of a caste? No, they are the outcasts. That's where we get our word outcast, right? They do not constitute a caste in and of themselves. All right. So now we're back to Isaac. Okay. What is your caste in Hinduism based on? Yes. Not based on, right, color, skin color, ethnicity, or economic status, although in general, the upper castes would be wealthier and more privileged, right? But it's based on birth. And then to take it another step, based on birth, based on what? It is based on birth, but what's that based on? The caste that you're born into is determined by what? Not ancestors. Why are you born into a certain caste, according to Hinduism, and not a different caste? Yeah, exactly. It's your karma from the past life. So however you did in the past life determines whether you move up or down or stay the same in the next life. Yep, exactly. All right. Whew, all right. Does anybody happen to remember, this is open for anybody, happen to remember the word that's used for caste? It means color or class. It's the word varna. Okay, I don't know that you'd, yeah. Okay. Oh, who wants a tough one, Isaac? Did I already ask you? Okay, here you go. Well, I told you I was going to burn you. Didn't we say we were going to burn him the next time? Okay, I'm going to burn you. Okay, now you can get this, okay? If you're really the man that I think you are, you're able to answer this. There are two categories in the Vedas, types of scripture. Do you happen to remember the names of them? They both start with the same letter. And one of them refers more to the actual words of the gods, and the other one, not necessarily.
Can you restate the question?
Two main categories of scripture in the Vedas. One emphasizes words that actually come from the gods, and the other one's maybe or maybe not. They both start with S. No, sutras those are the sayings of Buddha that where we get our word suture from. No? Anybody know them? Shruti? Smriti. Of course, oh yeah, we use those words. You guys use those every day. Now the Shruti are the ones that come from the gods. And Smriti, they're orally transmitted, not necessarily from the gods. All right. The most famous Veda we already said is the Rig Veda, R-I-G, right? All right. Let's see. Talked about the Upanishads. Okay. What is the word samsara? What does samsara mean? Very important word in Hinduism. Samsara.
I know what it means. I just forgot.
Isn't that like
No. Emma? Huh? Yeah, samsara is the cycle of reincarnation. It's depicted by the wheel.
The wheel,
The samsara. It's all. Remember that the Eastern mind doesn't think of history in linear terms from beginning to end so much as it thinks of it in cyclical terms. And so the idea of, remember we even talked about Noah, when God told Noah he wouldn't destroy the world by a flood again. You say, so what? He's going to destroy it by fire. So in one way or the other, we're toast. Well, the idea partially is that God was reassuring Noah that this is not just part of a cycle, it's going to continue. That idea seemed to be around even in the days of Noah. And God wanted to show him that no, he was not just going to do this over and over again. Okay? So you have the cycle idea. All right. Is it Will? Will, what's the Atman? Atman. It would be the Hindu correspondence to what in Christianity? Soul or self, the real self, yeah. Right, it's as close as they get to the idea of the immaterial soul. Yeah, Atman.
So when they say Atman, they're just referring to, as we would say, soul?
Yeah, the real essence of who you are. Yeah, it's the closest that they would get to our idea of the soul. Although they have different ideas about what happens to it and all that, and how it's attached to the body and whatever. All right, got to keep moving. Again, we're not going to get through all the religions. I'm just trying to give you an idea of what types of things might happen on the quiz. We talk about karma. Everybody knows what karma is. That's the, okay, there's a word that it actually rhymes with karma that refers to duty. Dharma, D-H, right, A-R-M-A. So if you think of that, dharma, your dharma, your sense of duty will produce karma. How you execute or neglect your duty will determine your karma. All right. Okay. We talked about the Bhagavad Gita, that story that was in the Upanishads about remember the charioteer and the chariot driver? I'm just going to open this up to anybody. Does anybody happen to remember the actual identity of that chariot driver? Yes, Krishna. Right. And what Krishna is part of what? In Hinduism, where does he fit in? Yeah. He's one of the avatars of Vishnu, 10 avatars of Vishnu. Krishna is the most popular one. But who's another one of the avatars? Buddha. Hey, we're warming up now. Woohoo! All right. Buddha is another avatar which actually becomes a religion all of itself. So Buddhism actually grows out of Hinduism, right? Okay, all right. You guys are, woohoo. All right, okay, I got to get this one in. Who's next? Huh?
Just answered it.
What are the three major deities in Buddhism? Brahman. The adversary. Shiva or Siva, depending on, some say it one way. Right. And the most popular of all those three, by far, among Hindus is Vishnu, right? He's the preserver, right? Okay. Shiva's the destroyer. All right, I'm going to move on to the next one. We won't get as far. Let's see. Let's go on to Buddhism, because Buddhism came out of Hinduism, right? So, okay. What was Buddha's real name, at least as far as we know historically? No, that's Islam. You're getting into Islam there. All right. Where are we at? Cody? You guys have been talking, haven't you? Yeah. Gautama Siddhartha, yeah. Right.
I just didn't know if it was, I was making sure that was the right.
All right, good. And Emma,
Pronunciation.
what did he set out to do?
He set out to end suffering.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're kind of getting a little ahead. He wanted to discover what? The why of suffering, where to come from, right? And then how to get rid of it, how to eliminate it, right? Which is something that virtually everybody in the world asks, because suffering is everywhere. And everybody wants to know where to come from, how do we get rid of it? Okay. All right. Okay, Ben, what are the three missionary religions? Obviously, Buddhism is one of them because we're talking about. What are the other two?
Islam
One that we didn't study. Yeah. 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 Yep. Christianity, Islam, and Buddhism are considered missionary religions. They actively seek to make converts. Right. Okay. Isaac. Gives you a juicy one here. Let's see. Boy. Okay. What is the largest group among Buddhists? And do you remember what the name of it is and what it means? There are three different groups. The Mahayanas, right? Do you remember what it means? Right. It's the great vehicle, right? The Mahayana. And in contrast, the more strict one is. Right. That's the Tibetan one. Think of something that's narrow or thin. Theravada. Theravada is the stricter. Mahayana is the broader, which is the most popular in the world. Okay? Good. In China, that area, Korea, Japan, they would be Mahayana groups, whereas the Theravada groups are more in Southeast Asia, Burma, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos. All right. Oh, okay. Back up to, oh boy, it's a tough one, Demi. We said that Sanskrit was that ancient language that characterized Hinduism, but there was another language that characterized Buddhism, and it was actually more of a trade language that facilitated the spread of Buddhism. Do you happen to remember the name of that language? It's 4 letters, and often written on leaves, like palm leaves, and just
First letter.
P. Anybody? Pali, P-A-L-I, the Pali language. It's kind of like the difference between Latin and Greek in the first century. Latin was very much a contained language, limited to the government and military, whereas Greek was more the street language. Okay, and that's one of the reasons why Buddhism could spread as easily as it did. All right, we did that. Okay. Let's see, Daniel. How did Gautama Siddhartha become enlightened, according to Hindu teaching? Right.
Like that, like he's sitting underneath a tree, meditating, and then you like.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're on the right, Emma.
I don't know what it's called, but he was like listening to something
The sitar? Oh, yeah, he had that one. Yeah, remember he was because he had tried extremes, asceticism. Yeah, and he had tried the extremes of asceticism, and then of complete isolation from suffering. And here's a guy tuning the sitar, we played a video of the big sitar, and it's a beautiful instrument. And he heard a student tuning his guitar when he was taking a lesson, and he hit him, it's a balance. It's not one extreme or the other. It's tuning it to find the middle ground. And so he develops what he calls the middle way, right? Middle ground. That's how the story goes. All right. Middle path. Okay. What do you call, Cody, a Buddhist who experiences enlightenment but decides to stick around to help others who are still on their way?
You hadn't asked me, I would have known.
That's the way tests go. Starts with a B. Yeah, bodhisattva, right. A bodhisattva has already experienced, enlightenment means, okay, all right, how do you experience, in order to be enlightened, it is necessary to accomplish what? There's something very fundamental that you have to accomplish in order to truly be enlightened.
I got it.
Demi, you got it?
Can't be attached.
Wait.
Oh, what?
You have to separate yourself from reality.
Yeah. And not even reality. They wouldn't use that word, but yeah, you're right. Detachment. This life is an illusion. We're not really here talking. We're not in a room here. It's an illusion, Wes. We're not even here, okay? Yeah. This is all imagine. Yeah. You might be for real, but and so you have to actually come to a place where you detach yourself. And what is the key word? Ultimately, you have to detach yourself from all what? Desire. So, which means you have to desire to be attached from desire, which it's really impossible. We made the comment that desire is built into as part of the image of God. It's not detaching from desire, it's learning to desire what pleases God. Yeah. All right, we're almost out of time. Just all right. All right, what is the word that Buddhism typically uses to describe this ultimate nothingness that you go into? Who are we? Where are we here? Go ahead. Nirvana, right. Which literally means what? Blowing out. Whatever that is. Blowing out what and ending up with what? It's all over the map. You can talk to Buddhists and they'll give you all kinds of ideas, theories about that. Right. Very, very sad. Okay.
We didn't ask any Judaism questions.
Well, we've only gotten through 3 here, the introduction and 3 of them, so I'm just trying to give you guys an idea. And I always end up going through the first one, the early ones, because those are the ones that are seeping out the cracks of your cranium more quickly through the semester. The Buddhist councils, remember, they're about 50 years apart, and they end up arguing over you remember what the Code of Rules is called, that they got divided over the interpretation? The Vinaya. Sure, Vinaya, the Vinaya, the code of how to interpret them. So interpretation ends up becoming an issue that divides the Mahayana ones that interpret them more broadly and more inclusively, and the Theravada, who are more strict. And Theravada, remember, believe that there's only one true Buddha, whereas the Mahayana Buddhists believe that anyone can become a Buddha. So, all right, so you guys have an idea of what to expect. And just go through, all I'm doing is going through these slides. You guys have those in your notes. Go through them. It's open book, open notes. Okay? If you run through ahead of time, you have, I think, 90 minutes to take it. But if you don't go through ahead of time and look at some of these things, it's going to slow you down. And you might find you run out of time on the exam. So I don't remember for sure. 300 or 400. No, I'm just kidding. No, anyway. All right. Visitors from Pennsylvania, thank you for coming. You take the cold weather. When are you heading back?
Today.
Yeah, take the cold with you, all right? But have a great visit while you're here. Good to have you in class. All right, thanks.
Our last class.
This is it.